Part 61. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 601. Gu Liang is a few years older than Cheng. The former is called young master, but the latter is called master. Because only the head of the family can be called father. Cheng may be more powerful than Gu Liang, but the Huo family is so powerful and people's hearts are scattered. There are always a few restless people jumping up and down to make trouble for Cheng. As for the Gu family, everyone was peaceful, and everyone kept to themselves. Gu Liang responded to everyone in the Gu family, and was much more relaxed and comfortable than Cheng. Such a comparison, the strength of the two is actually not much different. Gu Liang's sudden visit surprised both Cheng and Muzi. Muzi subconsciously put down the bowl and chopsticks, and asked, "Should I avoid it for a while?" "Avoiding what?" Cheng frowned. "Am I so shameful to you?" Muzi stared at him. "Is this a question of whether you can see someone? He suspected that I was with you at the banquet last time. If he saw me with you this early in the morning, wouldn't it be obvious that I was sitting with you? Is it really related?" Sit down, lest he get your ideas," Cheng said. "Go, put on the diamond earrings I gave you last time. Stop making trouble. How can I keep such a precious thing with me all the time?" Muzi felt that Cheng had started to fall ill again. "Besides, young Master Gu knows my identity. If you follow through the vine and find out that your real identity is actually the young master of the Mu family, what should you do?" Muzi said with a strong sense of urgency. "Even if young Master Gu can't think of this, but as long as the relationship between me and you is publicized, will I still have a way out in the future? Your enemies will definitely kill me to vent their anger." Thinking about it carefully, Muzi nervously said, "I'm not as lucky as you. If I fall into the poisonous snake den in Shark Bay, I will definitely die." Small head, full of imagination, Cheng smiled and rubbed her head. "Don't worry, if he dares to speak out, I will expose all his scandals." Muzi was stunned for a moment, and asked, "What scandal will young Master Gu do?" Hearing these words, Cheng felt a little uncomfortable. He asked Muzi with a cold face, "He can't have scandals. Killing and arson, do you think he has done less?" Muzi couldn't help laughing. "It really doesn't look like it. Gu Liang is not like Cheng, who is always fierce and vicious. In his impression, Gu Liang is always gentle and personable. Muzi doesn't even seem to have seen him angry. But think about it, the person who wants to inherit the Gu family can't hold the ground with just a friendly smile." Cheng took the opportunity to tell her, "So you should stay away from this kind of duplicity in the future. Don't be fooled. The way Master Rong welcomes guests is really unique." At this time, Gu Liang walked in with the servant with a smile, and greeted the two of them. "I heard you scolding me early in the morning. It seems that I came here at a bad time today." Cheng replied with a smile, "I'm just complimenting you. You're good at pretending to be gentle." Muzi stomped on his foot under the table. "I have never seen such a thick-skinned person, who was caught for hurting someone behind his back, and continued to hurt in front of his face." "Morning, Miss Mu," Gu Liang greeted Muzi. "Gu Shaizao," Muzi responded. Cheng took Muzi's hand and deliberately placed it on the table. The red strings on their wrists complemented each other, eye-catching and distinct. Muzi was extremely embarrassed, and wanted to withdraw, but Cheng did it on purpose, holding his hands tightly. Gu Liang glanced over from the corner of his eye. His eyes were deep set, and his expression was a calm and gentle smile. "Why did you come here so early in the morning?" Cheng asked Gu Liang. "I was entrusted by someone to ask Miss Mu about something," Gu Liang said. "Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again." Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 602. Looking for me, Muzi was puzzled, looked at Cheng, then at Gu Liang. "Young Master Gu, what do you want from me?" Mu Zi asked. Gu Liang said, "A few days ago, a friend of mine was involved in a divorce lawsuit. The lawyer who defended his wife happened to be from Mingjun law firm, so he came to me and wanted to ask Miss Mu what her plan was." Having said this, Mu Zi immediately understood. The friend Gu Liang mentioned was Justice Duan Yonghui. Duan Yonghui still has feelings for his wife. He doesn't want to divorce. Even if he really wants to divorce, he is not willing to give up the custody of the child. Duan Yonghui originally had a good chance of winning this lawsuit, but he did not expect that his wife would entrust Mingjun law firm. Ever since Mu Zi helped Chu Mingjun handle several cases, Mingjun law firm has gradually gained a reputation. For major cases, Mingjun law firm may not always be referred to, but for tricky and troublesome cases, Mingjun law firm is the first choice for everyone. It is also because of this that Duan Yonghui has scruples in his heart. Gu Shao's case was handled by Mingjun law firm, so Duan Yonghui approached Gu Liang and asked him to come forward to make peace. Duan Yonghui is a judge, and he is more reluctant to go to court than anyone else. It would be great if he could find a middleman to negotiate and mediate this matter. Mu Zi knew Gu Liang's reason for coming, and said with a smile, "If possible, we don't want to go to court, and Ms. Yang has always preferred to mediate out of court." Since Yang Qingluo was about to divorce, Mu Zi no longer called her Mrs. Duan. Gu Liang sighed helplessly, and said, "If mediation can be done so easily, I don't have to make this trip today. Miss Mu, you have brought people from the Women's Federation, and you have made my friend miserable." "I'm not cheating him, I'm helping him." Mu Zi suddenly corrected his expression, and said seriously, "Judge Duan can't imprison people forever. He wanted to cure his wife's illness." Gu Liang explained. "Madame Xiang is not sick." Mu Zi frowned. Then she felt that her tone was too cold, so she eased her expression and said to Gu Liang, "Sorry, young Master Gu, I had a bad attitude just now." "Why are you apologizing to him? He ran over early in the morning and scolded him himself." Murong Cheng interrupted with disdain, his tone sour. Mu Zi glared at him, "Don't make trouble, I'm talking about business with young Master Gu." Murong Cheng smiled, "Okay, you guys talk, I'll listen." He looked at Gu Liang, raised his eyebrows slightly, and his eyes were slightly provocative. It seemed that when Mu Zi complained to him just now, not only did she not feel ashamed, but she was quite proud of it. Gu Liang smiled helplessly. "Here," Mu Zi said very seriously, "the divorce agreement was decided after consultation between the lawyer and Ms. Yang. It is already our bottom line. Except for the division of property, we can discuss it again. We absolutely do not agree with other terms. I will give in, especially the right to custody. The child must live with the mother. Please also convey my thoughts to Judge Duan, Mr. Gu, and ask him to understand that the current environment of the Duan family is really not suitable for Ms. Yang and the child. Divorce is inevitable." "Of?" Gu Liang asked, "Miss Mu, with all due respect, since you think that someone in the Duan family is not good for Ms. Duan's child, why don't you tell Mr. Duan directly? In fact, the difference between the two of you is nothing more than the issue of whether the child will stay or not. You have been emphasizing that Duan's family environment is dangerous, but he doesn't explain where the danger comes from. Mr. Duan will inevitably get angry." Mu Zi was silent when she heard the words. She has always been very confident in doing things before she can speak clearly to others. Now there is no evidence, purely relying on speculation and association. Even if you tell Duan Yonghui, not only will you not get his understanding, but it will also arouse his anger and cause another twists and turns in the divorce lawsuit. Miss Mu, I have been friends with Mr. Duan for several years, and I know him a little bit. He is the most down-to-earth person, and he is definitely not unreasonable. There is really no need for you two to be so deadlocked." After a slight pause, Gu Liang continued, he really wants to see Mrs. Duan, and he also misses the child very much. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 603. Xiang Qingluo and her child were picked up by the Women's Federation. In order to protect her personal safety and avoid being harassed by the media, Xiang Qingluo's current address is kept secret. Therefore, Duan Yuhui still does not know where his wife and daughter live. I thought about it for a while, then bowed slightly. Young Master Gu, wait a moment, I need to call and ask Ms. Yang what she means. Gu Liang smiled and nodded. I went upstairs to her room. There were only 2 men left in the restaurant, and the atmosphere immediately changed subtly. Murong Cheng squinted at Gu Liang, with a long tone, warning, don't miss her. He always felt that Gu Liang wanted to pry into the corner of his wall, otherwise, for such a trivial matter, why would he go there himself? Gu Liangda could order Tongwu to come over, or call I, but such a blatant visit must have ulterior motives. Gu Liang smiled, took out a cigarette from the cigarette case. Her demeanor was still warm and refined. Okay, don't worry about it now. Murong Cheng frowned, a little dissatisfied. What do you mean not thinking about it now? Don't worry about it in the future, Murong Cheng emphasized. Gu Liang refused to answer him, and said with a smile, who can say what will happen in the future? Who wrong, what if she doesn't like you in the future? The implication is that I don't worry about it now because I likes Hua Rong now. If it was anything else, Murong Cheng would immediately refute Gu Liang arrogantly, but only this matter, Murong Cheng had no idea. This was probably the only thing he wasn't sure about, making I like him all the time. Who can tell what will happen next? People's hearts change as soon as they say it, and I is cold-hearted and cold-hearted. Now he has finally warmed up a bit, but what about the future? Murong Cheng was not happy, so he snatched the unlit cigarette between Gu Liang's fingers and threw it on the table. Smoking is prohibited here, we are preparing for pregnancy. Gu Liang was not annoyed, and looked at him with a smile in his eyes. Hua Rong, you want to tie her up with the child? It seems that you really like her. If I didn't like it very much, I wouldn't be so unconfident. I called back, not paying attention to the undercurrent between the 2 men, and said, Ms. Yang agreed to meet, and also agreed to let Mr. Duan visit the child, but the location must be decided by her, and only Mr. Duan and the lawyer can go to the appointment. She doesn't want to see anyone else. Okay, Gu Liang said with a smile, I have gained something today, and I have lived up to my trust. Afterwards, Gu Liang stood up and said goodbye without staying long. After Gu Liang left, I thought about the upcoming meeting of Duan and his wife. The opposing lawyer was likely to engage in psychological warfare. She should let Xiang Qingluo prepare mentally in advance. It is best to do a rehearsal with her to avoid the time of negotiation. Fall into passivity. While I was thinking, Murong Cheng stared at her resentfully, and asked, Zi, will you love me forever? Suddenly being asked such a question, I was baffled and stared at him in surprise. Why are you so crazy? Murong Cheng pursed his thin lips slightly, stretched out his hand to pull her to his side, and hugged her forcefully. I will always love you, he asked. Will you always love me? I blushed and denied, what nonsense, I don't love you, shameless. You love me. Murong Cheng's tone was firm, it's just that you don't feel it yourself. The words you scolded me recently are much more elegant than before. I. After breakfast, I was concerned about Jiao Jingjia's affairs, and Murong Cheng accompanied her back to Mu's house. The car drove outside the Zanzi Big Iron Gate, and Mu Zi unexpectedly saw a police car parked outside the gate. There was a sudden thump in her heart. Problem occurs. Mu Zi's footsteps quickened unconsciously, and hurried inside, and when she raised her eyes, she saw two people in police uniforms talking to Mu Zening. She looked around, but she didn't see Qiao Jingjia, and a bad premonition rose in her heart. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 604. Mu Zening glanced over Mu Zi and Murong Cheng from the corner of his eye. His expression was obscure, and his eyes faintly floated with deep anger. Mr. Mu Zening, what do you mean? You were awakened by the quarrel, so you walked out of the room to check, only to find that Ms. Xiao was unconscious at the bottom of the stairs, and Ms. Xiao was there, the policeman asked. Yes, Mu Zening replied indifferently, I don't know why they were arguing. I called the emergency center after the accident, and then I went back to my room. Didn't you asked the policeman, I heard that you are going to be engaged. This is a rumor, Mu Zening interrupted the policeman, and said indifferently, Qiao Jingjia used to be my wife's assistant. She was homeless a while ago. I couldn't bear to take her in. We have nothing to do with each other. Why? I also find it strange that such rumors will spread. So this is a. The police took notes, saw Mu Zi and Murong Cheng approaching, and asked, do you two know what happened last night? If you have any clues, please provide them to us. We were not at home yesterday, Mu Zi asked curiously, what happened? A fire broke out in Xiao Wanwan's house last night. We found a female corpse in the house. After identification, it should be Qiao Jingjia. It is currently unclear why Qiao Jingjia appeared there. It is under investigation. Mu Zi was stunned, feeling a little dazed. Was she burned to death? It seems that the natural gas leaked and accidentally ignited, which eventually caused an irreparable tragedy. The policeman sighed. The fire truck accidentally encountered a car accident on the road. The firefighters were fine, but the fire truck failed to rush to fight the fire in time. Mu Zi was stunned, unable to recover for a while. She couldn't accept the result. It was only 8 or 9 hours since Qiao Jingjia called her, and a living person just disappeared? Is this really an accident? Why did she go there? During this period of time, she lived in Mu's house every day. Why did she leave last night? Mu Zi couldn't figure it out, looked up at the two policemen, and asked eagerly, where is Xiao Wanwan? Xiao Wanwan any leads? Does she know what's going on? Xiao Wanwan is missing, and we are also looking for her whereabouts. When Mu Zi heard this, her heart sank. Of the mother and daughter, one was burned alive, and the whereabouts of the other is unknown. Did Xiao Wanwan escape, or did she die? Mu Zi really couldn't see any hope. She felt that Xiao Wanwan must be dead too. How could this be? Mu Zi couldn't accept it. How could Qiao Jingjia die? At this juncture, when she was about to tell the truth, how could she die? This is by no means an accident. A chill ran straight up from the soles of the feet. The limbs and bones were covered with cold frost, and Mu Zi felt cold all over his body. If Qiao Jingjia's death was a murder, what does that mean? It shows that when she fell into the river and died, it was also a murder. Someone wants to use one death to cover up another death. After understanding the situation, the police left Mu's house. Mu Zi didn't know how she got back into the room. She was in a daze and a mess. Qiao Jingjia's death, like a huge alarm bell, hit her brain hard, so that she could wake up. Her death was not an accident, and there was a deeper conspiracy hidden in it. In confusion, she vaguely heard Murong Cheng's voice comforting her. Don't think about it, I'll ask Wang Zhan to check for you. Mu Zi nodded unconsciously. In the afternoon of that day, Wang Zhan found out some things and told Mu Zi about them in detail. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 605. Wang Zhan said that Jiao Jingjia ran back because of drug addiction. Jiao Jingjia wanted to find some of Xiao Wanwan's private possession of high-end goods from Xiao Wanwan's residence to try out. Later, she probably experienced hallucinations while taking drugs. She turned on the natural gas in the kitchen, just as the loan sharks came, and the group lit a fire outside the door. Wanting to scare Xiao Wanwan, she didn't expect to ignite the natural gas in the house. An explosion occurred on the spot, and the fire immediately surged and was difficult to extinguish. As for Xiao Wanwan, the dispute with Jiao Jingjia seems to be related to drugs. The police also found poisonous cigarettes and injections in Xiao Wanwan's bag. Wang Zhan's statement is very consistent with the investigation results of the police, and there is also relevant evidence. Musa still couldn't believe it. It was such a coincidence that when Jiao Jingjia wanted to tell the truth, her drug addiction broke out. It was such a coincidence that the hallucinations turned on the natural gas, and then the debt collectors ignited it. It was such a coincidence that the fire truck had an accident on the road and could not arrive in time. Looking at it individually, each item is fine, but together, it is too coincidental, a coincidence to a strange degree. Muzi called Zhang Ci and asked about it. Jiao Jingjia's death also shocked Zhang Ci. Zhang Ci knew about this earlier than Muzi. She rushed to the scene as soon as she received the news in the middle of the night. At that time, the fire had been extinguished and the scene was charred and messy. Zhang Ci personally examined Jiao Jingjia's body. Jiao Jingjia's appearance has changed beyond recognition, it is too horrible to look at. Zhang Ci couldn't believe it was her. Neighbors nearby kept saying that the dead person was Jiao Jingjia, and they heard the woman's screams with their own ears. The residents of this house were Xiao Wanwan and Jiao Jingjia. Xiao Wanwan's voice was easy to recognize, so the person who screamed was probably Jiao Jingjia. Jiao Jingjia screamed in pain, but she didn't know why she couldn't come out. The door was locked, and because of the high temperature, the metal swelled and deformed, and it was difficult to force it open. When the neighbors nearby used tools to destroy the anti-theft door, the house became a raging sea of flames. There is no way to go in and save people. It's indeed her, Zhang Ci said. I stared at the DNA test done by my colleagues in the laboratory department, and there is no mistake. Have you found the person who set the fire? Muzi asked. You also know that loan sharks don't have a fixed place. They're a mob. Once something happens, they all disperse. It's hard to find someone, Zhang Ci sighed. This time, I can only say that she is too unlucky. Is it really unlucky? Musa's mood was very depressed. I always think it's a coincidence that the debt collectors don't come sooner or later. Why they come when the natural gas leaks? During this period, they came very frequently. A few days ago, they even used paint to write large characters on the corridor at the door. Setting fire to the house is also a common trick of debt collectors, Zhang Ci said. Muzi asked, what about the fire truck? What happened to the car accident? There is nothing suspicious about encountering a drunk driver, Zhang Ci advised her. Besides, the fire is so big that even if the fire truck arrives, it is impossible to rescue her. Stop thinking about it, and let this matter, let go. Zhang Ci sighed. Since Jiao Jingjia is dead, let's let go of the past. These things have happened recently, so I always have a feeling that I am destined. Maybe, we should move forward. Rather than looking back all the time. Muzi was silent for a long time. I want to take a look after a long while, Muzi whispered. Zhang Ci sighed again. Okay, when you want to go, I will arrange it. Now Muzi looked at the time with downcast eyes. I want to pass now, is that okay? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 606. The site of the burning house was surrounded by a cordon, and the residents of the same community stood nearby in twos and threes, discussing a lot. Because of Zhang Xi's guarantee, Mu Ziyi was allowed to enter the scene. Standing outside the door, you can see the blackened walls inside. There is almost nothing left in the house. Everything that can be burned has been burned out, and there is a burnt smell in the air. The place where the body was found was marked with special white paint, which was very obvious in the darkness. Qiao Jingjia's body had already been transported away. Standing in the wreckage behind the burning house, Mu Ziyi was wrapped in suppressed emotions, a little heavy and a little numb. For Qiao Jingjia's death, she couldn't feel pity, she couldn't feel grief and indignation when the truth was buried. She fell into a strange confusion. Since her rebirth, she has lived every day with absolute certainty. She knows what she wants and how to get it, but at this moment, she is at a loss. She thought that coming to the scene to take a look would help her get rid of the fog and get the answer, but in the end she was even more confused. All indications are that this was an accident. Her obsession seemed pointless. Go back. Zhang Xiyi patted her shoulder lightly, you need a good rest. Maybe you're right. Mu Ziyi opened her mouth in a daze, all kinds of accidents happen every day in this world. It's not surprising that Qiao Jingjia died because of an accident. Why can't I accept it, is it? I have been dealing with conspiracies and tricks for a long time, so everything looks like a conspiracy. This is not good, I should accept it. Mu Ziyi tried hard to convince herself. If you are persuaded, you will be relieved, if you cannot be persuaded, you will be suffering. Mu Ziyi didn't want to suffer. Her life is too precious to waste a single day. Zhang Xiyi drove Mu Ziyi back. Before leaving, Zhang Xiyi persuaded her, Xiang King Gluo is still waiting for you to help her fight for custody, and the judicial review is less than half a year away, and there are still many things waiting for you to do. Take a good rest after you go back, don't talk to yourself competition, you know. Zhang Xiyi knows her too well, and it is the most suitable way for her to use work to mediate her emotions. Mu Ziyi really perked up a little when he heard the words, nodded, and said, well, Xiao Ming and I have made an appointment to meet Qing Luo. Duan Yuhui is a judge, so he won't compromise easily. Seeing her appearance, Zhang Xiyi was a little relieved. After Muzi returned home, she finished her homework seriously, then packed up the birdcage and snake house, and took Ceci out for a walk. She let herself do things non-stop, so as not to fall into a depressed mood after she calmed down. As long as people are busy, they have no time to worry about spring and autumn. When Ceci was playing in the lake, Xiao was flying around. Muzi never restricts its freedom, so Xiao is basically raised free range. When it grows up, it is no longer as clingy as before, but it is still very smart. Mu Ziyi was accompanying her pet in the garden, and met Mu Zhenning, who was about to go out. Thinking of what happened last night, she couldn't help but wonder if Mu Zhenning knew something. After all, when Qiao Jingjia and Xiao Wanwan had a dispute last night, Mu Zhenning was the only witness. She remembered that in that phone call, there was another person instigating Qiao Jingjia vaguely, but she was not sure whether the other person was Xiao Wanwan or Mu Zhenning. Mu Ziyi stopped him and asked, when Qiao Jingjia and Xiao Wanwan quarreled last night, did you hear what they said clearly? Mu Zhenning stopped in his tracks, looking at her with cold eyes that seemed to be hiding sarcasm. Mu Zhenning's gaze made Mu Ziyi feel very uncomfortable. She endured the discomfort and said, last night Qiao Jingjia called me, she said she wanted to tell me about changing the medicine, but when I came back, something happened to her. I doubt it will be. I don't know. Mu Zhenning interrupted her indifferently, aren't you very capable? Check it out. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 607. His expression was cold, his tone was very aggressive, and there was a wave of nameless anger. Muzi was baffled, she didn't know why she angered him. But since the showdown between the two, it's not surprising that Muzenning has always been so eccentric when talking to her. After Muzenning finished speaking, his expression became more gloomy. He turned and left without even looking at Muzi. Muzi stood at the same spot and watched his leaving back. Her thoughts were messy and impetuous. There was something gently rubbing against him at his feet, and when he looked down, he found Ceci, who had come back from swimming, was rubbing against his ankle, wet. She sighed softly and led Ceci back. Because of Qiao Jingjia's death, for 2 whole days on Saturday and Sunday, Muzi was out of her mind. Even if she wanted to divert her attention deliberately, her dull and depressed emotions were always with her. Murong Cheng deliberately spared time at night to come back to accompany her. "Would you like to go out to play?" Murong Cheng coaxed her to be happy. "How about taking a few days off and going to the island again? I heard that there are more rabbits on the island. Let's go and have a look, and relax by the way." "No way." Muziwo shook her head in his arms. "It's almost the end of the term, homework is important." Murong Cheng didn't try to persuade her anymore, he just stroked her hair, like smoothing a cat's fur. The middle school homework is not difficult for Muzi, but the difficulty lies in that she has to stand out from a group of outstanding elite students and get the first place every time. "I have persisted for so long in order to get the quota. If I get the second or third place in the exam after I got the quota, it would be a shame." Before falling asleep, Muzi was still muttering this in Murong Cheng's arms. In fact, to be second and third in the Gregorian exam is already very good, but the first place for such a long time, if it is gone, the teacher will probably feel that Muzi is getting carried away. When I went to school on Monday, the teacher arranged a preliminary test without any warning. Everyone was caught off guard and the whole class wailed. The exam was too sudden. Even Muzi, a model student, felt that she did not perform well. When the teacher collected the test papers, some students couldn't help but said, "Teacher, at least let me know in advance next time, so that I can read the book the night before." The teacher replied, "Life is like this, full of surprises everywhere. Not everything happens when you are ready. Everyone can't laugh or cry." During the lunch break, Muzi ate with Zhang Xinyuan and Zhuangjia as usual, and inevitably talked about the exam. "I guess ZZ is number 1 again," Zhuangjia sighed. "Not necessarily, I didn't perform well this time." Muzi smiled and shook her head. Zhang Xinyuan said, "You are not alone, I think everyone did not perform well. Alas, I have not even seen several questions before." Muzi smiled, thinking that this kind of life is pretty good. For students, the exam is already a big event. If you take care of the exam, you will take care of everything. The 3 girls chatted while eating, and Muzi remembered Zhuangjia's visit to Duan's house, so she couldn't help asking a few more questions. Judging from Zhuangjia's expression, she had a good time at Duan's house and nothing happened. It seems that gifted children are not all geniuses. "Kikai really has no talent for baseball," Zhuangjia said with a smile. "Really?" Muzi asked casually. "Master Duan has been learning baseball for how many years?" "I started learning when I was 5 years old. Duan Yuhui was a baseball player for the school team when he was a student, so he started teaching Kikai baseball at a very young age." Muzi felt that this was very important, so she silently wrote it down in her heart. At this time, a classmate came over and said, "Muzi, you are here, someone is looking for you, and you are waiting at the school gate." Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 608. The cafeteria at noon was like a battlefield. The classmate hurried away after speaking to Muzi and went to line up for dinner. "If it is late, the meals you like may be sold out." Muzi didn't have time to ask who was looking for her. After thinking about it, maybe Bai Wei was afraid of the enthusiastic Chinese teacher, so she didn't dare to look for her in class. Muzi casually grabbed 2 bites of rice, greeted Zhang Xinyuan and Zhuang Xia, and went to the school gate. Unexpectedly, the person who came to her was not Bai Wei, but Mu Zhenning. Muzi frowned subconsciously, her eyes immediately filled with guard. She felt that Mu Zhenning's arrival was not kind, and she was afraid that she would scold her again. "What's the matter?" Muzi stared at him vigilantly, and stopped at a short distance. Mu Zhenning threw away the cigarette in his hand, and opened the door of the passenger seat. "Let's talk in the car, there are people coming and going nearby." Muzi didn't move. Who knows, after getting in the car, will Mu Zhenning go crazy like last time and drive all the way to the river? She still has class in the afternoon, so there is no delay. "My train is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon," Mu Zhenning said. It means that he is leaving soon and will not trouble Muzi. Muzi was surprised, and was taken aback for a while, and then found that Mu Zhenning's dress today was indeed different from usual. He usually looks like an elegant business elite in suits and leather shoes, but today he wears sports trousers and a hoodie jacket, which is convenient for traveling. Mu Zhenning stood by the passenger door and waited quietly for her. Seeing that his expression was calm and he didn't look like he was going crazy, Muzi hesitated for a while, and finally got into the car. Mu Zhenning sat in the driver's seat. Muzi was even more surprised when she saw the backpack on the back seat. Mu Zhenning was really leaving, and, judging by his appearance, he was definitely not on a business trip, but more like a backpacker traveling alone. This is really not something Mu Zhenning would do. "The last time you asked me about Jiao Jingjia, I lost my temper with you. It was my fault," Mu Zhenning said lightly. "You didn't come back all night, and you came back with Murong Cheng in the morning. I'm not happy, so this been simmering for days." Muzi was speechless. Why did it seem to be her fault? "You don't have to think about Jiao Jingjia's matter anymore," Mu Zhenning said. "I asked her to make the phone call that night. I threatened her and wanted her to admit that she had changed her medicine. After that, it might be she had a guilty conscience and didn't want to confront you, so she ran back, but she didn't expect to meet a debt collector and had an accident." Mu Zhenning glanced at her, and then said, "She has been taking drugs for a while, and it's not surprising that accidents happen. You don't need to think about it. She changed the drugs. The reason may be jealousy, or something else. What, who can tell?" Muzi felt a little relieved. Whether it was Mu Zhenning's attitude or his explanation of the whole thing, she felt a burst of relief. It would undoubtedly be in the interest of both of them to make things clear. The sun shines from the gaps in the treetops, casting mottled light and shadows on the car, which is warm and warm. Occasionally, a few students walked by the car, and laughter came, but no one paid attention to the people in the car. "Thank you." Muzi let out a sigh of relief. She was very grateful to Mu Zhenning for being able to calmly talk to her about these things instead of just complaining and arguing endlessly. It is said that a husband and wife can enjoy each other for 100 days, no matter what happened. Muzi hopes to have a good reunion with Mu Zhenning. The atmosphere has eased, and both of them are very calm. "I'm going on a long trip, and I'm not sure when I'll be back," Mu Zhenning said. "During the time I'm away, I hope you can reconsider our relationship. After all, we have never divorced. I hope you can respect this marriage." Muzi froze, the nerves that had been relaxed just now tensed up again. "Are you serious?" She stared at Mu Zhenning in astonishment. You know that I'm already with him, and you still want to continue this marriage." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life. Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HhandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 609. You are only grateful to him for a moment, thanking him for saving you. But we are husband and wife, you are confused, and I can't be confused together. Musenning stared ahead, without any expression on his face, and his voice was calm and unwavering. Besides, you should also be clear that there is no future between you and him. I couldn't understand. She looked at Musenning in a daze, not understanding what he was trying to do. Was he masturbating himself? What do you think? I asked him. You know that I don't love you. Musenning's breathing paused slightly. Of course he knew, he always knew. I went on to say, isn't it good to let go? You are young, handsome, and rich, and you can find a girl you like and start your life again. Why do you have to trap yourself in the past? Musenning, you are torturing yourself, do you know that? Musenning was silent, his expression was obscure, and his eyes were gloomy. When he didn't speak, I continued, besides, you were the one who disrespected marriage from the beginning, you betrayed me. When I'm dead, what's the use of you acting so affectionate? Zenning, I'm dead. We can't go back to the past, you will only upset me if you pester me. I spoke bluntly, without any tact. Every single word was like stabbing a knife into Musenning's heart, so that he would give up, despair, and give up completely. Musenning held the steering wheel tightly, but he didn't get angry. One day, you will understand. His voice was low, struggling to suppress his emotions. Now you think I am unreasonable, but in the future you will know that I am saving you. I felt restless, as if no matter what she said, she couldn't get to the point. Musenning didn't want to listen to what she said, and she couldn't understand what Musenning said. The feeling drove her crazy. The conversation ended without a problem. I went back to school, and Musenning went to the train station. He didn't say where he was going, and I didn't ask either. She didn't want to show any kindness to Musenning, so as not to be misunderstood by him and have a charming reverie. I felt that it would be better for him to be unfeeling. Musenning drove to the train station. He thought that his heart would be in a mess, but in fact, his heart was extremely calm along the way, as quiet as death. I asked him to let go and start over. How could he not know that obsessing over the past is meaningless? However, if it were any person, who would be willing to find that his life was devastated and riddled with holes? From the moment he learned of Qiao Jingjia's death, he knew who his enemy was. At that time, the only thought in his mind was to confront her. He wants her to see clearly Murong Cheng's insidiousness, to see clearly how terrifying Murong Cheng is. All of this must have been done by Murong Cheng, otherwise why would Qiao Jingjia be silenced? But, what about after the confrontation? Musenning was confused. He found that he had no strength. Under the Huo family's influence, he was like an ant, without the slightest weight. Even if he confronts her, he is not 100% sure that she will return to him. Even if he risked his life, it would be irreversible, irreparable, and he could do nothing. This is the saddest part. Musenning thought for a long time. In terms of strength, he can't compete with Murong Cheng. In terms of emotion, he has lost the opportunity. In terms of cunning, he is no match for Murong Cheng. He has only one way left. The only way to work hard for it is also the crux of everything, this absurd and ridiculous resurrection. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 610. Musenning's words disturbed Muzi all afternoon. Muzi's feelings for Musenning are complicated. She was once held in the palm of Musenning's hands like a princess. During their one-year marriage, they had a close relationship and spent many happy times. Even if she never fell in love, there was always some kind of family affection. When she found out the relationship between Musenning and Qiao Jingjia, she felt as disgusted as swallowing a fly, contemptuous and disgusted. Later, when she learned that Mu Zhenning was doing it for medical treatment, she insisted that it was a betrayal, but in her heart she began to feel guilty. As a wife, she did not give her husband enough care, and she was also at fault. But Murong Chen gave her life, and she can't let her down either. If two men had to choose one, there was no doubt about the answer. What can she do? She could only speak harsh words to Mu Zhenning, be ruthless, and prevent him from giving birth to even the slightest hope. Mu Zi was restless and troubled, and inevitably lost her mind during class. The teacher called her twice, but she didn't hear it. When the third call came, she woke up like a dream, stood up in a daze, and the whole class roared with laughter. There was a bit of teasing in the laughter, and there was kindness in it. It was the first time that everyone saw a female schoolmaster who was concentrating on studying and distracted in class. It felt like a goddess stepping down from the altar. The teacher asked her gently, "Did you not have a good rest last night?" Mu Zi nodded awkwardly. After school, Chu Mingjun came to pick her up, and today he made an appointment to meet King Luo. Mu Zi got into the car. Chu Mingjun handed her a document, and said, "Duan Yuhui is looking for Haishan's lawyer, who used to be a prosecutor. It's not easy to get benefits from mediating with them. We have to tell Xiang King Luo to be careful." Mu Zi lazily responded. "What's the matter?" Chu Mingjun sensed her fatigue and glanced at her. "If you're too tired today, you can change the appointment tomorrow. Anyway, I'll meet her on weekends anyway." Just today Mu Zi rubbed her forehead and opened the documents in her hand. She desperately needs something else to divert her attention now. The document in front of me is the divorce agreement provided by Duan Yuhui's lawyer. The conditions can be described as harsh. Not only did he not let go of the custody rights, but he almost let Xiang King Luo leave the house without leaving the house. Chu Mingjun was very contemptuous, and said, "Anyway, I have given birth to 3 children, Duan Yuhui is too stingy." "He's not stingy," Mu Zi smiled, "he did it on purpose, trying to force King Luo to retreat to the idea of divorce. It seems that Duan Yuhui is still unwilling to divorce." Chu Mingjun shook his head, started the car, and stopped making further comments. The car drove to a community in a remote suburb. This is a property under the name of the Women's Federation, and it is specially provided for women and children in need of assistance. The green area is very large, with very wide green grass and verdant trees. The houses are neatly arranged, each of which is a 6-story building. Because Xiang King Luo has a slight disability, the Federation specially arranged for her to live on the first floor. When Mu Zi and Chu Mingjun arrived, Xiang King Luo was walking on the grass pushing the stroller. Beside her were 2 middle-aged women who seemed to be her neighbors, teasing the children and boasting how cute they were. Xiang King Luo was chatting with them, with a faint smile on her face, and her eyes were peaceful and serene. When she saw Mu Zi and Chu Mingjun, Xiang King Luo's eyes lit up, and she immediately walked over pushing the stroller. Xiang King Luo's appearance tends to be chaste, quiet, and graceful. It is not so stunningly beautiful, but it makes people feel gentle, and it is easy to generate a good impression. It's just that once she walks, she will limp. Although the degree is slight, she doesn't have the beauty of being slim. The disability in the leg was caused by falling down the stairs. After the treatment, crutches are no longer needed, but it is a pity. Mu Zi's gaze fell on Xiang King Luo's lame leg, and she thought to herself, this handicap may also become the target of the opponent's lawyer's attack.